5, 4, 3, 2, 1. What's up, guys? Riccardo Baleia here with episode 2 of the Riccardo Baleia podcast. It's a new thing. I finally got a name. I'm so excited. Actually, kind of a basic name, Riccardo Baleia. Everyone knows me as that, so it kind of goes with the territory. But yeah, I nailed it down. Riccardo Baleia podcast, nice and easy, nothing too crazy. I want to thank everyone for tuning in for episode 1 with Leo Vieira. That was awesome. Great feedback. I have a ton of people from the community messaging me, which I'm so happy. And before we get things going, guys, I just want to give you guys a quick reminder. If you're watching this on YouTube, give me a like, give me a share. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. And now let's get things started with none other than, I don't know how many words I got for this man. He's a legend. He's a champion. He's an innovator and the second best looking commentator in the jiu-jitsu game.
The first one.
That's it. Your words. Mr. Braulio Estima, welcome to the podcast.
Ricardo, man, thanks very much. I'm very honored to be invited here as the second on the list. I'm a big fan of Olivier. And be here, I'm really excited to share some of the stuff, and I'm really enjoying this moment with you.
All right, thanks, my man. So first things first, before we get into everything that I had planned, we never hear you being called Carcará, right? That was your nickname back in the day.
Yeah.
Tell me where that came from.
Yeah, it's a very funny story. It came by to my first ever tournament that I actually won in the IBJJF was the Panams in 1999. Okay, so I even made a post about it. To be honest, funny enough, the medal is just here.
Nice.
That beauty here, look, it was on this tournament. That was like I made a post before, a while back about the importance of this medal. Because it was it was my first IBJJF tournament that I won. And it was the first tournament that I won my first fight at the IBJJF. I had fought before for 2 years, and I have lost all of my fights in the first round.
Okay.
So it took about 4 tournaments during 2 years. Every 6 months, I have to go to Rio stuff. It was pretty tough. On the 5th one, I went to Miami, and I was really try to understand, why am I losing, man? I need to fix, I need to get better. And that was always trying to become a better version of myself, try to learn from my mistakes, So basically, I lost by 4 different kind of mistakes, and I was getting better every time. But, I put something on my mind that I think, man, you know what? This could be the gi that I changed. Every time I train with my gi, I'm training so well in the academy. But every time when I put my competition gi, it's not working, So, and then I was sponsored by a gi called Carcará. So what I did was, when I went to the Panams, I said I used my most simple gi that I had. That's one that I was competing.
Mm-hmm.
So I had it was called Carcará. So I compete. I won my first fight, the second fight, third fight, fourth fight, fifth fight. And I said, okay, so now I'm gonna put my gi, my competition gi, because blue belt at the time didn't get much of media. So I said, okay, if I'm in the final, if there is a photo, I'm gonna use my main gi. So I left my Carcará on the seats. So I went there, I won, got my medal, and then came back. Dude, where's my Carcará? And then, hey, Carcará, I lost the Carcará. And then the Carcará, it's a very traditional bird from the Northeast, where I'm from. Mm-hmm. And this company was based with that mindset. It's like an eagle from the Northeast of the desert in the North.
Nice.
So I don't look like one. I hope.
No, that's
because of the gi, I promise you.
Yeah, no, that's a cool story. We know jiu-jitsu culture. Everyone's got different nicknames, Shoe Face, Baleia, I don't know why they call me that, but these, everyone's got these nicknames, and I think it's something cool about our culture. Leo Vieira and I always talk about this, is we have some very unique things that differentiates us from wrestling, from judo, from football, and it's, these apelidos, as they call in Portuguese, these nicknames. It's one of those cool things. Sometimes people know people by their nicknames, don't even know their real name,
Yeah.
Exactly.
many people like Margarida.
Yeah.
You know, like
I was just gonna say Margarita, to be honest with you, but yeah,
and especially because I'm from the northeast of Brazil, and then didn't see many people from in Rio very often, you know. And then one of the most nickname, I was happy with Carcará, very happy, because usually people call people from my area Paraíba.
Yeah.
Right? But everyone from Rio calls anybody from the Northeast Paraíba.
Paraíba, yeah.
Paraíba is a state just below mine. If I lived in Paraíba, I wouldn't mind. But you know what I mean? I'm not from here, so I didn't want to be called Paraíba. So when they picked Carcará, I said, I like that one. Stick with it.
Let's stick with that one. That's a cool one. Yeah, you know, it's funny because you mentioned the Pan Ams, and that's actually the first time that I caught wind of you. Brown belt 2002, right?
2003.
2003. Okay, my bad.
February 2003.
Okay,
it was amazing tournament. Yeah.
Yeah, and you won the Open.
I won all the whole thing.
Okay, so I remember that. I'm pretty sure you fought like Soluso, some other guys.
The overweight.
That's right. So that's where I first saw you, because like I was training with some Alliance guys at the time, and I was like, man, who is this guy with Braulio? What the heck? That's not even a Portuguese name. I didn't even know like anything about you. And then I saw you tearing through the division, and then the next year, and then the year after that, you just kind of kept building up your name in the sport, and like I said, you became a legend. So
thank you, brother. But man, that tournament, Riccardo, had a lot of. It was probably one of the most well fought tournament that I ever had in my life.
Oh wow!
2002. It was a little bit of reassurance of my dream. Okay, and I just put here the power because just in case it come off.
No problem.
Good. So I want to tell you a little bit of the story. Basically, before I come here to UK, I was doing production engineering back in UK, in Brazil. My dad's a dentist, and then I was brought up with the academical mindset from both families, and I was the first black sheep that wanted to do something different, right? But I was doing production engineering for 3.5 years, and I went to appears opportunity for me to come to UK as a holiday, like to come here during my break in the university, to come and see what are the potentials out there. So, my dad already knew that what was my intentions and stuff. I explained to him what I really wanted, and it was the first time that I had like the first man-to-man chat with my dad. And then he was worried about how are you gonna finish? How are you gonna stop your university and gonna do jiu-jitsu? What is gonna do to you? Sure. And then how about in the future, your family? What are you gonna do? I was 22 years at the time, and I told him, listen, look, I really want to be the best in what I do, and I know that things has ups and downs, and I know that when I'm on the up, I will be happy, and if I'm on the down, I'm still gonna do it because I love that. That's my passion. I really want to do jiu-jitsu. And if I am the best in the world, don't worry. There will be a percentage of people that will like what I do, and I will be fine. Because if you get the best gardener in the world, he's all right. If they get the best wall painter, the best street wall painter in the world, he's all right.
Yeah.
I want to be the best in jiu-jitsu in the world. I'm sure I'm gonna be okay, but I need to give that a try, because back in the time I used to have half a scholarship for the university, and the other half scholarship through jiu-jitsu, and half scholarship was through work. Nice. I mean, I had the scholarship half through jiu-jitsu, the other half I need to pay via work. Okay. And I used to work from 7 o'clock until midday, 7 a.m. to midday. And so that means I have to wake up at 5:45, 6 o'clock in the morning to get ready, go to work, and then come back, have my lunch, studied my homework, and have a little rest because I didn't sleep properly from the day before to wake up early. Mm-hmm. Then go to train for 1.5 hours from 4:30 until 6 o'clock, go straight to the university, sometimes not even shower because there's no time. Yeah. Go to university, study there, and then the only time that I could make some money out of me, I was teaching a class at 10:30 until 11 until midnight.
Oh wow!
Over, So basically, this was my day. I was a purple belt at the time, and then by the time that I get home, it's 1 a.m. to have to wake up at 6:30 a.m. Like, so
Wow.
it was on and on and on. So basically, my results wasn't come the way that I expected because
Yeah.
I was completely fully blessed, right? So I got third at the Brazilian Championships in August or September 2002. Okay, and then that's when I came to the UK in November 2002. And then I spoke to Roger and appeared this opportunity to stay here. So the people in Birmingham liked me. So it was for the very first time in my life that I lived only doing jiu-jitsu.
Wow.
That was the first time in my life that I worked out. I never worked out because I didn't have enough time. There's no time.
Yeah.
There's only 1.5 hours to train jiu-jitsu, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I had a personal trainer that Stevie B is the guy that actually contracted me here. So I was training the morning, afternoon, and evening. Jiu-jitsu training mainly with white belts and blue belts for 2 months. Dude, I went there to America and I got a tonsillitis just with the jet lag because I didn't know about the jet lag. For me, it's just like go there and fight. My goodness, man, for me it was completely crazy. And I did the best competition I ever had in my life. I tapped 7 fights within 5 minutes and 24 seconds, like all together.
Wow.
That was probably one of my best performances in terms of submission. That was incredible. I was like over the moon. I fought one of the American champions, and I managed to do a helicopter number on him. So man, that was pretty cool at the time.
That's awesome. Yeah,
Good story.
it's funny because your background and how you kind of had that breakout tournament and how you prepared for it and everything that you went through. Number one, it makes it that much sweeter when you win. I'm assuming, right? But number two, it's not something that I would assume that you were doing. I thought you were a guy that was like a mat rat, lived in the gym, trained 3 times a day, like some of these other guys. So I understand having to work and do all these things just to prepare. And it's not the story that maybe some of the people in this generation, like there's kids that they training 2-3 times a day minimum. They're able to quit, or maybe they're wealthy enough that they can quit their job or just train full time, and you're going from the complete opposite end of it, luckily enough to get one training in. So it's a pretty amazing story. For me, that's really cool.
Yeah, a lot of people is very it's always been through generations in different areas in everywhere in life, right? People is the person, a successful person, but they don't know what
they went through.
And this is one thing as well that I think all the hardship that I went through, it made me be who I am. It's not that made me who I am today, the way that I think. It made me tough enough to be able to go through all this. You know what I mean? And that's one of the things we're going through now. Like with the coronavirus and stuff.
Yeah.
I really do believe that the struggles makes you go through much stronger than the other end. Is as long as you don't give up, as long as you focus and keep on going.
Exactly.
Because this is one of the mentality that I believe that I've always had, and I was very motivated by my dad as well. I remember every time when I used to fall, even when I was a kid, 3 years old, he goes, "Stand up and get ready to fall again. Stand up and get ready to fall again, because you're gonna fall again. Just as long as you stand up again." That's kind of the mindset, and people tend to see just the tip of the iceberg. And as a parent now, because I'm a dad of 2. I try to kind of let them know, not what I've been through is not that. I like them to appreciate that things cannot just come easy for them. That they need to work hard for it. That they need to appreciate what they get for what they, to not take for granted what they have. Of course, I give things for my kids and stuff, but I want to make sure that they appreciate the value of it and why they have. Once you understand the why, then you take on conclusions. That's the main thing, because a lot of people goes out, I'm gonna give everything, gonna give to my kids everything that I never had. Okay, but you need to really be careful how you do it, because the reason that you are who you are now, that you got to the God, that you achieve what you achieved, is because you have to fight through it. If you try to help a butterfly on the metamorphosis by ripping the cast, you're gonna kill it, you're gonna spoil it, you're gonna become a prey. So you gotta go through your struggles, and you gotta go through your struggles by yourself. You cannot be accounting or relying on other people. You can have help because nobody gets to the top just by themselves. That helps. That's why it comes down to appreciations and giving back. A lot of people give back to me,
Yeah.
and I always appreciate it and give back to them, and I give back to a lot of people that comes after me too. And this is are important things to take in consideration to become successful and leave a legacy as well that will be also successful. Otherwise, you can just spoil it and stop there.
Yeah, I can relate, especially you mentioned about, I have 3 kids, and being a parent, it's like you want to give everything. I have a trouble. My wife looks at me, is like, stop. Like, you can't just, but it's hard, like my father was not super wealthy, worked, still works to this day. So a lot of things I remember, I would always remember myself when my son asks me for something. I would always visualize a picture in my head of me asking my father saying no. So immediately I say, okay. But then, I start to realize, after a few years, 2 or 3 years old, I start to see my son become a little bit spoiled. Yeah. So then I said, okay, now like we're going to go through a system. Like, you do all these things all week, you get like an allowance, or you get something at the end of the week. If you do a great month, you get a prize. And I make them appreciate, and I make them work for it. I mean, I don't know. I never read that out of a parent book. I don't know if it's right or wrong, but I feel like it's worked for me. It's worked for my kids. And now my second child, my second oldest, he's pretty content with what he gets. Once in a while, he says something. But my daughter, of course, she's the youngest. Anything she wants,
she's the daughter. She's
totally,
it's
totally doing.
It's
Yeah,
hard.
you
It
can't.
is easier said than done, right? It is a difficult thing, but this is one thing that we need to switch on. We need to take this as a little bit, because what's happening is one saying that actually Professor Bruno Fernandes told me this, even when I wanted to carry on competing, when I was, it's like, if you can, doesn't necessarily mean that you should.
Yeah.
Even if and this is one thing that I took for how I educate my kids, and also I took this to how to be more like content for what I do, because I am a fighter, and I didn't get what I got by accident. I am very competitive. I have competitive nature, and this is what gives me the buzz. I love it. It excites me, and I need that, right? In my endorphins, that's what it's all about. Me, I am all about. But at the same time, I need to be more reasonable with what this outcome can come together, because I have my neck surgery a while back. I think I already did far more than what I'm supposed to do after the surgery, and it gets to the point now that the neck that I am now, even though I can fight against all the best guys in the world. When I train with the best guys in the world, and I do well training, but the thing is, there's so much more that I can be more useful to give back. So, because another title, it's what's gonna be out. Okay, brother won another world championships. I already won a few. That's good enough. I think now my one thing that Professor Master Carlos Gracie Jr. always told me, brother, listen, you need to focus on one thing that's always on the positive, and also you need to focus on things that's just gonna get better with time.
Yeah.
By now, what's going to get better with time? Are you going to become a better competitor with time? You're going to compete for much longer, right? Or how much you can give back to the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu community, how much you can give back to your team, that you can make much more the people to achieve the dream that I always dreamed about. So I start to understand my purpose, and then I really have that mentality of, that to use jiu-jitsu as a tool to cause a very positive impact in the world. And I do believe that, man, I have no questions like how I am so buzzed with my purpose. And I see that with really clear eyes. And it's every ability that I learn, every lessons that I learn through jiu-jitsu, I'm using now through this hardship that we're going through now.
Yeah.
And it's very positive. And then that's the thing, because jiu-jitsu is much more than just go to the gym and choke each other out. There's a
Yep.
lot more to that. It's a lifestyle. You can use I take jiu-jitsu as the best, more complete metaphor for life. I can
Yeah.
explain all experience in life that I've been through, and then I'm planning that I did, that I am, and I will through jiu-jitsu. In many ways. So it is it's an amazing sport that we have, and I'm so fortunate to be in the position that I am now, and I'm so motivated to be able to pass it on that experience that back in the day was only able to do if you were like the champions, and now so many people can take those benefits to be able to apply to their own life and become a better version of themselves. Like that, we're making a positive impact on the world and then making the world a much better place to live for real.
Yeah, and I think as a fan of the sport, as a fan of yourself, I think it's great to see that you, not that you got out of the sport competitively, but you chose to make a decision to contribute rather than just compete to jiu-jitsu, to your students, to the worldwide community through your commentating, through your instructional stuff. All that's you're giving so much more than I think you even realize. Touching lives worldwide, and it's an amazing thing to say. I wanted to switch gears a little bit, though. You mentioned the coronavirus. It's March 22nd. I don't want to spend a lot of time on it, but can you give me an update, like how things are going in the UK for your academy? Like when do you guys close? What's the status in the UK? Like in Canada, all the gyms are closed. We can only go shopping pretty much for groceries and to go to the hospital. So what's it like going in the UK right now?
Yeah, things are here in UK. It started a little bit later than all Europe. Okay, maybe a little later than it should, to be honest. But Gracie Barra as a team, as a world team, is we decided that to recommend all our clubs and academies to take a stance about that, because it's some things very serious. In the beginning, you go, oh, it's just a flu, it's just a flu. But when you start seeing the catastrophic, progressively growth
Okay.
of it's crazy. A lot of people are dying, even though are not people like us that are athletes or young, but people are dying a year earlier than
Yeah.
they should. And we need to that's the time when you need to be a little bit more uh, uh, less selfish and
Yeah.
understand that we need to do that sacrifice so people don't so not many people dies.
Yeah.
And so we took this stance. Okay, we it's been 1 week since we switched our services, our training to an online platform. Okay, we have been having a very good response because everyone is embracing in a way so remarkably, because they see how much we are on this together. We're not just shutting down an academy and turn our backs. We are
Yeah.
making an effort to carry on helping them with the bringing them the Gracie Barra experience to their home,
Hmm.
because this time more than any other time we will see how much it is important to have physical and mental health. You
Yeah.
gotta be healthy on those two things, because if you're not, that's when you can go crazy. That's when you can get depressed, in many different ways. And then what we're doing, we haven't stopped. We on it. We didn't turn our backs. We have an amazing team behind that was 24/7 work behind to be able to create this platform and this system that we can still deliver what we used to deliver online, in our mats now online, and the response is great. I'm really excited. I have been getting emails and people, brother, thank you very much to lead in the front line, to go there and put an effort, and then everyone be able to get this energy, even though we're not on the mats, but we see that energy because we're doing live. We're not doing just recording and go. Because when
Yeah.
you do live, the finish is there, it's happening
Yeah.
now. You can interact with the students, and we're very lucky, really, that we have this team with us. So I don't know how is people in other teams. Of course, we the sign-ups gonna stop at some point, but we keeping our members. They are very supportive, and I believe that once they understand that appreciation, give back. That's the key.
Yeah.
Once they see that we are doing our best to give back to them so they can carry on, they appreciate and
Yeah.
give back to us. We support each other because it's very important. Jiu-Jitsu is a small sport. Our academy is a small business. We depend on it. I have so many, all my seminars being canceled, all that. And we have our lives, but we are there together. And for no, even for 1 second, I keep thinking bad. Oh, I keep like, oh my God, man, I don't have more seminars. No, the first thing I think is how am I going to deliver an amazing class tomorrow at 7 p.m. That's all I'm thinking about. So I'm like very motivated. I'm doing a chat show as well every Saturdays, which has got a very good response. I start feeling, doing what I like to do and try to pass it on the positivity, because more than anything, this time more than anything, we do need to spread positivity, because people tend to be very negative, but what we learn in jiu-jitsu is, doesn't matter how hard your opponent is, there is always a way out if you act cautious and when you think outside the box. If you panic, everything goes down. As we spoke before earlier, people going like with the greed mindset, like I'm Armageddon, taking all the toilet papers off the shelves. Dude, like, you cannot panic in situations like that. And we are very lucky that we are sticking together as a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu community, because we are used to those kind of mindset every day. When we train, we go through that. Oh, this is not good. There's always, and in this toughen you up, not only physically, but mentally, gives you a very good perspective on how to deal with situations that are struggle.
Yeah, I think that overall, I think that it's like you said, we have to look at this in a positive mindset. And in reality, the way I see it is, it's almost like the world, Dana White said this, it's like the world pressed the reset button and made us all just say shit. Like, took us down to our basic survival. And then what I'm inspired by, I love to see the videos of like the people in Spain and Italy singing on the balconies, giving each other things. It's like that's what we need to be sharing. Of course, we need to be aware and prevent the spread of this virus. But I also think, like, if we don't share that, if we don't show people, like, guys, like, you got to be positive here. What are they going to do? What are they going to do? They're just going to stay home and like, oh, the world's coming. Like, I see people saying the world's coming to an end. They're talking about going on the purge and getting guns and what are you talking about? That's insane. Why do that? It's not come to that. It's nowhere close to that. Let's just chill out. We all need a break. Even as jiu-jitsu, like, I'm a hobbyist in jiu-jitsu. I'm not a full-time athlete. But I think even myself, I'm like, oh, I got a week. My back is hurting me. Like, I get some rest. My shoulder all of a sudden, like, maybe we just needed a little break from the world, because things are getting crazy. And it's funny,
the world's need a little break of us.
Exactly. So I'm not trying to make light of man. It's horrible to see all these deaths and everything. Like, it's horrible, but we can't sit here and doom and gloom on that. We have to think forward. And I think also, like, it created some opportunities for certain businesses, especially in our jiu-jitsu market, to sort of reevaluate what they're doing and service them, their student base, kind of figure out different ways how to deal with the situation and service the industry and the community as well, and I really think that once things get kicked in again, once we get past this, which we will, things are going to be even stronger in all aspects. In your academies, people are going to be begging for tournaments again. I work behind the scenes on a lot of pro events. I also do commentating, as you know. So I know that whoever does the first show, all eyes are going to be on them. And that's what I'm looking forward to. I'm not sitting here looking at the death count every day. I'm like, when is this over? You know what I mean? Like, let's get focused.
It will pass.
It will pass.
That's for sure. One thing, this is a good opportunity, for reflection. The world is awakening. All that. Okay, as you said, it's like pressing a reset button. Yeah, and that it's what jiu-jitsu is like. Like when you go to jiu-jitsu, we press the reset button pretty much every day we go training, because it doesn't matter where you at. It doesn't matter if you are good looking or ugly, fat or strong, any religion, any race, any ethnicity, we all in the same according to who you are. And we get to know a lot about ourselves on those times when you go train jiu-jitsu. You get to understand how we react in scenarios like we've never been before.
Yeah.
And that's what's happening to the world now. Everyone is stuck in the same boat. It doesn't matter how rich or poor, what your race, anything. And the only thing that is going to it's jiu-jitsu, bro. I see jiu-jitsu and everything. Look, you see that in jiu-jitsu, we need each other to be able to train, even though it's an individual sport. And in life, the same. We live and work for ourselves, but we need each other. And when you come to, things are much more, people will understand that the simple values are the most important things.
Yeah.
And like there is always a positive out of a negative. And for you to appreciate listen, the world was going to a way that not many people was appreciate things like a spoiled kid. We became spoiled kids because we have so many things that we don't even need to think about it. Have you ever thought about when your fridge doesn't work? Man, my fridge broke like a few months ago. Only when I just realized how important the fridge was 3 months ago. When dude, you cannot keep nothing fresh. So these things will, for every positive to be recognized and appreciated, that has to be a negative. If everything is positive, what is a positive? So we just need to use that to reflect, to start to get to understand more about yourself with one thing in mind: be safe, and this will pass. And then when it passes, it's important that you take all these lessons that we learning and take with us, because this is, I think this is it's something else that is making us to appreciate a lot more about ourselves as a human being. Also, things that puzzles me a lot is like, dude, now we have we can see from the satellites like places in China that we couldn't see because of pollution. We can see fish in Venice canals when we couldn't see in decades. What does it tell you? It didn't tell you about the global warming. Guys, take care of the planet. But because you don't see it or feel straight away, people just become too selfish, thinking about what they want, what they need, how much money they can make. So here we go. You have all your money. You spend all your time. You miss all your childhood of your kid. You broke your marriage, and now you have all your money and you cannot bloody use it. You know what I mean? Wake up. Use this time to do things that you never done. Try to appreciate people that is there for you. Try to spend a little bit more time with your kid. Try to talk more to your parents. Try to be closer to your brother, sister. And then try to learn something new. Get something that, what, I want to learn anything. Make perfume. Go there. Keep your mind active, because the worst thing that you can do is stick your mind on the social media and spend doing all this all over 24. Dude, that no, it's not going to be good for your mind, because when you come back, what you're going to gain from it? Try to be. Do you know what's my goal? I want to become. When all this goes back, I want to become a much better version of myself than when everything started. And I want to be stronger. I want to be more inspirational, and I want to be more evolved as a human being. That's my goal.
It's funny.
I'm telling you, I'm working out every day.
It's funny you say that, because this situation is, even like myself, it forced me into a situation where I started to do another podcast with the guys at Flow, and we were doing it once a week, and now it's like every day. And then I was like, you know what? I want to do my own thing and just kind of have more relaxed atmosphere. So it forced me. And then just because of the situation, I'm doing my own thing. I'm getting a lot more people coming to me saying, hey, I love it. Why don't you do this? So it's forcing me to do more. So if this didn't happen, I wouldn't even be thinking about all the new kind of like little business ideas that I'm having as a result. Why? Because I'm keeping myself occupied. I'm not sitting home just looking at the news and the bad stuff. I'm trying to I'm trying to work with what I got. You have to. We have no choice. You know, like
This is
this
the mind
morning.
of a champion.
I was hey, I know the feeling, but
You know
like
what I mean?
you know, but it's great. Like you said too. Like this, like I just got back from doing outside. Me and my sons were raking up all the leaves, organizing the yard. It's still a little cold outside, but we got out of the house. We did it together. This morning I worked out in the living room with my wife, doing P90X. You know, but we're doing something that we normally don't do together. So we share that time. So it's like you said, you know, taking something positive from the negative. I've learned to do that. And if you guys are watching this at home, listen to Braulio, listen to me. We're not doctors, but we're professors of jiu-jitsu, and we know what we're saying. So I wanted to change subjects a little bit here. You know, I talked about tournaments. Obviously, we know the IBJJF canceled the Worlds, the World Pro canceled, Pan Am's canceled. But one tournament I really think it's important that we talk about is one that you were at and you were kind of involved with and helping out, which was the UK Grand Slam. So the UAE the AJP Tour, they announced a new rule set where there was no more advantages. It was just points, like single points, and and I believe it's shorter time limits unless it's the finals. And the reason they were saying is to encourage more action in the matches. Personally, I like it. You know, I saw a couple of the matches. I think it's great. I love experimenting with new rule sets, but I don't think like you need to have 25 different rule sets because it confuses the shit out of everyone. I really think the more simple, the better. But I also think that it is necessary. Just like our technique of jiu-jitsu needs to evolve, sometimes the rule sets need to evolve too. I'm a fan of the shorter time limits when it's a tournament myself. I don't mind longer time limits if it's like a super fight, like a sub only. But tell me, Braulio, you're involved with the event. I want to hear your perspective on what you thought the rule set was, how the event was. You know, for those who have no idea how the UK Grand Slam was, and the new rules of the AJP Tour, give us your opinion because you're the only. You know, you've done it. ADCC, you've done IBJJF, you've done everything. World Pro, you've done it all. If anyone's going to have a really good, educated championship mindset and honest opinion, it's you. So here's your time.
Right. So, Ricardo, what I think is this: us as a fighter, okay, we train jiu-jitsu. Period. That's what we train. We train jiu-jitsu, and jiu-jitsu. It is about how can I control my opponent? How can I submit my opponent without really hurting him? If I don't, as in control, right? Using the techniques and stuff. And the main goal of jiu-jitsu is the submission, right? And there are many different tournaments with different rule sets. I don't believe that exists or there will be the perfect rule set.
No,
because it's very difficult. You know, because really in what jiu-jitsu is based on is a self-defense between two people, and that is who is gonna, you know, soon death or life or death. You know what? How much can you survive? That's what comes down to, right? So in the real life, there won't be no referees to say stop, stand up, second round. Doesn't exist. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is the base of what jiu-jitsu came from. Then of course there was made rules to be able to represent the attacks in the dominant position, so we can instigate and motivate the opponent to get to the positions, and then later. As always, if you spend too much time doing one certain rule, people will master it and make strategies and gonna train hard towards a specific way of fighting. And you that's how we say, don't blame the fighter, blame the rules, right? So in judo, they do this a lot to become much more competitive. As you see, sometimes Japan is winning, sometimes the Russians are winning, sometimes the Americans are winning, sometimes the Brazilians are winning, and they do shift and change rules very often so people cannot master it for too long, the same rule, okay? Because it can be very predictable. Okay, so the IBJJF rules is pretty much like what the majority of the tournaments are from the IBJJF.
Standard,
So they're very consistent. They use the advantage. They have the reason why they worry about the health of the athletes. So that's why they're not allowed to rip the knee or that. And then also comes down to anything is allowed, and that's all about what you wanna whoever the promoters are doing. With as an athlete, I am very for as many different rule sets that exist. The better fighter you're gonna become, because you're gonna put yourself in different scenarios, different situations. And I've always liked, as you know, as you mentioned, I fought in all kind of them, and then that made me a better fighter. If there will be one day, guys, gonna be a no gi, and that is the mat's gonna be soap in the mat, man, I would be interested to see that too. How can you really? We're gonna have to develop different kind of ways of doing what you used to do. The new rule sets for the Grand Slam, which was pretty much, I think, was the last tournament that has happened. I think the major tournament before this break. It is that there is no advantages. There is points for advantage instead. For now, I think it's an amazing move. Because for the fights is easier. One, it's very easy for anybody who doesn't do jiu-jitsu to see the score. We see just the score going up and the other one going down. That's what it is. Like, it's a negative, it becomes a positive, and then it is like everything that's minus is goal. It's easy to see. The scoreboard goes from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 15. So it's like a one number. It's not like a 3 for passes and 4 for mount. It's like one number. So it's easier for whoever watching at home. And then the main goal of the Abu Dhabi, the AGP, is to bring at some point the jiu-jitsu to the Olympics. That's the main dream, the main goal. They work towards that, and then this helps them to be able to portray to people that doesn't do jiu-jitsu and pretty much understand what's going on. Fight shoulder, very cool. I like that too, because become much more effective. I saw, man, there are so many. I went to the Grand Slam in Abu Dhabi in January, and then I was at the Grand Slam in London in March. And man, there are fighters that I'm not gonna say names, that they used to stall as much as possible. That was on fire. It's just unleashing the beast, because if you walk back, you get -1, but it's not -1 advantage, -1 point. If you pass someone's guard, you have -1. Now you have one sweep now. You know what I mean? So, and then now people cannot stall, and because if the guy start, if I pass, you imagine that I have 5 minutes, and I took you down, and I got inside of a close guard. Well, if you have 2 minutes of the fight, man, the guy has to sweep me to be able to score a point. I'm inside the close guard, man. I'm gonna stay there. Boom, 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 boom. It's very hard for the guy to sweep me in 2 points. In 2 minutes, really, if you don't want to get swept. But if the guy score an advantage, it's 2-1. If you not another advantage, 2-2. If I stop solid 3, I lost the fight. So it becomes, it can become more, how we call it, better to watch, because it's more. The adrenaline is kicking. The fighters are going at each other, but there will be a time that people will start
figure it out,
strategy about it, and I believe that there will be a time that you can go and then shift a little bit of the rules. If you keep things the same, people adapt to get good at it, and if you shift again, it's going to have to adapt, so the fights becomes more interesting to see. At the moment, because everyone has a very good mindset of fighting the advantages, because people fight in IBJJF all the time, and that's an advantage point and all that, and they are with that mentality. When adds the point, the advantage being points, they still fighting like this way. It becomes more, oh my god, but then there will be a time that people are gonna pull guard, start choking 1 point, stall 1 point. You know what I mean? Using the advantages as being the main source of points. So we're gonna have to see how it goes in terms of how the fight goes. But I'm telling, in terms of nowadays, today, if you put all the best fighters to fight right now this weekend, these rules with the 1 point in advantage would bring a lot much better fighters than before.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. It's hard to create the perfect rule set, and I agree with you. I believe that there will never be a perfect rule set, but we can always push for it. We can always, strive to achieve that perfect rule set. And at the end of the day, it's all dependent on the fighters too. If you have 2 guys, they could be world-class champions. they're not necessarily going to go after it a full, time of the match. There's going to be some strategy there. I remember I sat once with the head of the Red Bull media house, and we were watching Keenan and Buchecha at the Worlds, and everyone was going crazy, and we're like looking at him. We're like, "What did you think?" And he's like, "This is cool." He's like, "But I don't know who these guys are. I don't know what's going on." He goes, "But it looks like everyone's having a great time, but this is not for TV yet." And then he left, and we were like, interesting. So it's amazing how like our perception, because we're so into the culture, is one thing, but somebody completely outside that has never seen it before, they're like, I don't know what this is. Like, I don't know why everyone's so, and he just walked. So we have to do things to make it more exciting. It's like you said, it's, having one point, keeps going. Oh man, look at the guy. He's like, oh, I recognize the choke or the armbar from the UFC. It's going to make it a little bit more easier. So I have a question for you too. Do you think that there was a time in the sports history that we went away from the aggressive submission kind of oriented game towards this sort of strategic game? Do you think that there was an era, or is it always something that's been around? What do you think?
I think it's all about what you get from it that leads what you want to do, right? In the beginning, when jiu-jitsu became sport, dude, everyone wanted just to tap each other out.
Yeah.
You want to just smash the guy. I don't want to win by 2 advantage or 1 point. No, I want to beat the guy, because the rivalry was huge. And it was like people used to train to compete maybe twice every year. So they had the whole year to prepare. Man, we're gonna have to. If they see each other on the beach, or that would be street fights.
Yeah.
Because that's how much passion, and they go. It's like McGregor and Jose Aldo. Aldo wanted to kill McGregor, but then McGregor played the game and surprised him.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. And then what happened is, when you start to see the new generations having, oh, hold on a second, I don't really need to expose myself so much just because I hate the guy or because I want to beat the guy. Because if I can beat him this way, I can still get the medal, and I can still get the title. I can, So that's about always perception, and then people start to understand that, and people start to find ways on how to get the beautiful gold. That's what they will try to do. Whatever shortcuts people will take, whatever, like for example, how many times you see people like blue belts, like back in the day when Barry Bolo became very popular, people start doing Barry Bolos like from white belts, and then you shouldn't be learning Barry Bolo while it's white belt, but that was making them win the tournament, because people from white belt didn't know how to deal with it. Then they go to a point that they go to the blue belt, purple belt, then they disappear, because they so far are behind of all the other things that has to be done before the base. Man, the stronger the base you build, the higher the building you can build on top. If you try to go too fast, and jiu-jitsu is truthful technique, is a real thing. Jiu-jitsu is real, and everything that's real doesn't come from night to day. It takes time. If it takes time, it's slowly but surely. Everything that comes fast goes fast. So it's all about patience, and I believe that with that understanding, people start balancing out more, because they already, the history. What's the history? History is like, is you learn and you study the history, not necessarily to copy, but just so we don't make the same mistakes. So we can improve and become a better version, right? That's why we study story, to get the knowledge, so we can kind of get the good things about it and don't make the same mistakes, which is a valid point for every generation. They always try to improve themselves all the time. And you see nowadays the level of the jiu-jitsu is so much higher than when I started. When the blue belts now, man, would kick my butt, man, if I was a blue belt back in the day, But what I see is that, would they beat me as a black belt, when that would be a long journey. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because there's so many things involved. I think there was a time that people start playing more to the strategy changes because there are so many gaps in jiu-jitsu. Look, people say that a pack of cards is almost it can be almost an infinite of combinations that you can 54 um, in combinations of all kinds.
Yep.
Is too many. Like imagine jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Jiu-jitsu, man, 54 is just like I can name 54 techniques here in 3 minutes. Imagine how many techniques out there, right? Imagine the combinations. Imagine the combination of strategies. It's too many options. So there will be a time that people are gonna find a kind of way of that can go under the radar for some people, and then they will kind of get a little bit out of it. Then people will follow that kind of thing. Then it becomes a cycle. Jiu-jitsu goes in cycles all the time. All the time. There's a time there's going to be Rebolo, then that was at the X guard, then goes back up close. People doing close guard now. People now know passing guard standing because they're afraid of the Rebolo that are leaving, so they put the knee on the floor and it's going to be a cycle. That's why for whoever want to be a fighter, whoever is watching that, if you want to be really good in jiu-jitsu, don't just base yourself on one way of fighting. Look at people that does well and take the good of them and add it to your game. And everyone is different. Don't try to be better than your partner. Don't try to be better than your professor. Don't try to be better than anybody. Just try to be better than yourself, and you're gonna be doing good work.
It's a very good point. I think Hickson made a good point. I'm not trying to sound like the old man in the room, but he said like nowadays some of the competitors they want the medal, they want to win the medal more than they want to beat the guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, and it's smart. It's smart. Like you got to win those titles. You got to win those world championships to build your name, to get the sponsors, to get the seminar. I get it, but we have to admit that it's definitely, like you said, like the rivalries. If I look back at 2000, the stare downs of Robinho and Parrubinha, like, mean mugging each other for like 2 minutes, or Dedede and Verdum, and those guys, those days are long gone. But man, were they enjoyable, Braulio. Man, were those days enjoyable to watch. Nothing was more. They were exciting because it made you excited to see the match. Sometimes you see a match, these guys, they do a little bit of pacing, and then they double garpo, look at the referee, and like it's changed. But I get it. So I can't. It's not that we could discredit or discount or say anything bad. It's the nature of the beast, like it happens in any sport, But it's a different era, I think.
I think also it's about the mentality that you pass across your to students, and who are the people who plays the way that they do. Because the thing is, you can, for example, myself, I don't like to stall. I don't even know to stall well, and every time that I try to stall, I lost. Because it's just not good at it. I say I won. I'm going to score. I'm just suck at stalling.
Yeah.
Right. And my game has always been very forward. And I can, if I wanted to, I could. You can stall on the close guard. You can stall in the half guard. You can stall on the 50-50. You can stall in lapel guard. You can stall in any guard. You can stall being on top of the side control. You can stall even the mounts if you want to. You can stall from anywhere, really. So it's all about what's your mindset, really. It's always come down to the person. The same way that you can bring, like we say this metaphor, like you can bring the donkey to the lake, but you cannot force it to drink it. You can say this is the way that you should be doing, but I cannot force you to do it. You will be the one that have to do it. So I know how to fight again on the 50-50. I use 50-50, but I never to stop. Because I focus so much on escaping from it and how to don't get attached and use only to be able to score the points that I need and to get an advantage point, then using just for the points here and back. That's because this is my personality. But the way that I pass to my students, I say, listen, this is what I think is right. This is the way that you want to do if you want to be offensive. But if you want to be stalling, that's not that's your decision. I don't recommend, because this is not jiu-jitsu for me.
Got it. So, we have probably like another 20 minutes of this. I want to fire off some questions
Wow.
that I had.
Oh, it's just getting started.
No, probably we're gonna go more, but I want to make sure we have enough to record here. But I have some questions that some people sent, and also, some that I've been kind of brewing amongst some of for the guests and stuff like that. I want to ask. So when you were training, when you first started, when you were developing the blue purple belt, who was your biggest influence when you were coming up?
As a was a good question because I just was something I just mentioned. I never ever based my focus on just on one person. I never had like a one idol that's the one and everything that he does out because I think everyone is different.
Gotcha.
Everyone in the world is different. We have different prints. We talk differently. We even though we're similar sometimes, we look alike, but we're completely different because it's not only the body way or looks, but also the mind. We all different in every aspect, right? So I never based myself in one person, but in everyone that they did something good, there's something good about that. So I start always focus on the whys of why he's so good at it. Why?
Mm,
What does it? Why does he do that? Because I can do that way, but
yeah.
why does he do this way? Oh, I understand. Then I learned the concept. So I was always like a sponge, like taking the best things of people every time. People like when I was a purple belt, people like Roleta was doing great, like Comprido. There was Márcio Feitosa. There was like Draculino. There was what's his name? Like so many. Nino Chambry,
Mm,
Léo Vieira, and I think Marcelo Garcia was a brown belt at the time yet. But you know what I mean? Like Tererê coming out.
yeah.
So all those people, I always trying to see, okay, this guy tend to play this game that I do. I am not as strong or very explosive person, so I cannot really do what this guy does so easily. So what why does he do? And I start
Mm,
incorporating things. But to be honest, I've learned a lot more from people from my same generation, if you believe it or not.
mm,
I was people who I was training with, like
yeah.
with people I was trained like I was Paulo Saboa, Felipe Jerry, Roger Gracie, Igor Gracie. Rawls already was a heavy, much heavier, and was a different generation of mine. But Pew Pew, that's from the GB Web,
Yeah.
and man, all those people, we used to hang out, like we used to train against each other, and we became such a different level because we used to get battered by
Yeah.
the black belts. So there wasn't even much to kind of, but we just tried to replicate to the others what we felt against it. You know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, in terms of fun to watch fights, was those that I mentioned. But
Mhm.
really, the people who actually I got that I learned the most was people that I was training the competition team of the blue belt and the purple belt together.
Okay, so let's flip that. Biggest rival in
Hoy,
your
biggest rival,
career.
it was definitely Jacare. He
Jack.
was the guy to beat. He was the rock on my shoe for a long time. He was the guy that, oh, man, people like was the most afraid to fight against, and it was like, man, that guy's was tearing everyone apart with amazing jiu-jitsu. I fought him 4 times, 5 times altogether, but the first four, I don't even scored one advantage, man, on him.
Wow.
My goodness. So he was the guy, my guy. No, I need to go. That's why when I went to fight, when I hurt my neck, I, the first thing that came to my mind was, my goodness, like, what if I cannot bring my kids back? Hold my kids on my hands because I got paralyzed for a while. So the first thing that came to my mind, oh my God, I'm paralyzed. My kids, they fight against Jacare. The second thing that came to my mind, because it was in the next year.
Yeah.
So, and I'm glad that in the end, I proved to myself that that could be done, which shows how much it's important to you to believe and be willing to do whatever it takes to get there. So, rival for sure, Jacare is the toughest one.
Yeah, and I think the last time you guys fought at that ADCC, I have to say that that was probably the best Braulio Estima I had ever seen. I think that technically you went out of your box a little bit. You did a lot of stuff that we hadn't seen before. You experimented, and you really opened up. Why was that? Why was your techniques like? For me, it was. For me, it looked like something completely different because in a lot of your other fights, the pace was similar. You were in the guard. You were slowly, methodically setting up the inverted triangle or different things. But with Jacare, you opened up. You played into his game and you attacked him back. You beautiful arm drags. I remember it was just what was it about that match that made it so different?
I just like man, I prepare myself very well for that fight. I did my homework. I think because of my every single time that every world championships in on my off season, I've always practiced different parts and aspects of my technique, my game. So every technique that every time that I competed in the world, I always had something different on my sleeve to use. I never used just one game. I was very like innovative, adapting, and incorporate a lot of things because of that mentality of, oh man, look, Marcelo Garcia so good at this. Oh my goodness, look at that. Romulo Barra so good at this. Oh my goodness, and then keep adding into my game, right? So when I fought Jacare, even my wrestling, man, I've been trained. If within the competition, I think I was the only person that actually took him down.
Yeah.
I didn't score the points because he's like, I think he has something, a spring on his butt or back or something. He just come back up straight away. But man, I managed to take him down and with the single leg that I never seen nobody did doing that. And but I was well prepared, and I think I was just with the mindset that, man, this is what I have been waiting for, and God gave me the opportunity because this when he stopped when he was focused on the MMA, he didn't do a gi anymore. He was just training no gi, and he was invited to compete at the ADCC because Roger got injured, and then he fought in his dry day, so it's kind of fate, you know. And then Roger got injured with me on the first training for the ADCC.
Oh wow,
crazy how he went. And I said, no man, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna focus on, and I'm gonna do everything that I have been developed, and then I wanted to start putting the pressure. I prepared myself so well that I didn't hold back for 30 minutes, and I remember when I look at him, when we shake each other's hand on the beginning, I was like, my goodness, man, this is happening right now. It's actually happening. He's here. He's real, And I was just like a really, really, really excited for that. And then it was, to be honest, was the time that I was an adult already. When I fought him, I was 31 years old. I had the physicality back. I always felt he much stronger than me. I think that was the time that we fought as a real adult, to see the same kind of equivalent energy. So I was very confident, and I started like putting my game into him, and then I had evolved much more since we fought. I think this big gave me a little bit of motivation, and man, I'm so glad that it happened. And he went to a seminar of mine in Florida, man. We had a blast.
I heard a couple weeks ago, right? Yeah. I heard he just showed up.
I was so surprised that he was happy to see me, because I was happy to see, because I'm a big fan. Now he's all over the place, like in the UFC, doing well, and I love his style, and I'm so honored that we cross paths because this rivalry made me be as good as I got today. Because every time I was thinking about fighting him and how can I improve, what are the gaps, and he came to me and said, Braulio, listen, a lot of people think I'm not I didn't think much, bro, but I remember 3 years of my life. And there was 2 people that I was thinking, sleeping every day, was you and Roger. I said, okay. I said, so basically probably cross dreams together at some point because that's what I was thinking about too. So it was really fun. It was really good to see him. He's looking so well, and so good to see he's doing amazing in UFC, bring jiu-jitsu on. Now Rodolfo is doing that too, and it's so good what jiu-jitsu make in our community so strong. It's unbelievable.
And I gotta ask you, did Hodja give you any tips for Jacare? He had to
Yeah,
have given you something.
look, Roger is he has given many tips in for myself in my career. You know, like Roger was my best training partner. I think we kind of bounce on each other on that. You know, I was a guard player. He was a top player, and then it was a great mix to complement each other. And then I learned a lot from the top, and he learned a lot from the bottom. And then, dude, it's just like we match in a way that's really good. But for that fight, because me and Roger we fight completely different. You know, but those I was training with him a lot of wrestling and stuff. Roger always gives tips, but no, the game that Roger had for Jacare was completely different than what he experienced uh, against Jacare is completely different way than the experience with Jacare because they spent a lot more time standing, and then when they went to the ground, he got his back and tapped pretty well. But Roger, it's amazing. He gives some tips. I'm not really recording as much because all I was thinking about is what I was going to do, and Roger was really reassuring for what I wanted to do. He was even on the Stuart Cooper documentary. He felt, and he's even said that how much I really wanted, and how much I was thinking about it, and how much I was doing my best to come out of those 4 defeats that I had. And he said that I was a new me, and then he really believed what the strategy that I put across was working well. So every time that I was seeing him was pretty much to train and to put into practice what I've been putting, and then things was working, and he was always very supportive for that. But you know, Roger is being the biggest part of my improvement was through Roger for sure.
You know, it's funny because you talk about the match with Jacare, and then you mentioned earlier, and I'm reflecting as you're talking, and you said earlier how look at this coronavirus that we're going through, and it's like you and even as a man, like you had to go through something bad to get something good, and you take something positive out of the negative, and I'm looking at that and I'm reflecting on your match with Jacare. You know, you fought him 3 times before, he won those, and you could have taken a mentality of shit, he's just gonna beat me again, or you could have said, no, I'm older, I'm mature, I'm gonna do my homework, and I'm gonna make the right decision on how to win. And it's sort of similar, like you said, like jiu-jitsu kind of represents life, and it's sort of similar to what we're going through now. We could say, wow, you know, this is my business is struggling, or you know, I can't see my neighbors or my family, but we're going to get through that, and we have to think positive, and we have to have a strategic mindset to kind of see that light at the end of the tunnel there. So I always like to draw the comparisons of jiu-jitsu and life, like you
Yeah,
mentioned,
me
of
too.
course, you know. So yeah, and then
And sorry.
no, go ahead, it's your
No,
turn.
you got a very good point there, because the thing is, it's very simple thing that you always need to, because jiu-jitsu, even it's simple as long as it's done correctly, right? So Roger says it all the time.
Yeah,
So look, the thing is, you got to ask why in everything you do. You got to take your own conclusions and try to tell yourself the whys. For example, oh man, it's terrible. Look, I cannot see my neighbors. Why? Why can't you? Because if you do, it can cause something that's going to be much more out of the control. So understand that and do your part. Because if you do your part, if you want the world to change, if you need to start by you doing your part first, right?
yep.
So that's the thing. So try always to understand the why, and don't and avoid to one thing that I hate the most on people is people blaming others
Mm.
for things. Because of dude, listen, just take it on the chin and then just
Yeah.
accept it and move forward and try to get as a lesson. And this mentality we have to have in jiu-jitsu, you know. That's what injuries gives you when you have to train through injuries, you know. Like when it never felt perfect for me. Like it never felt like, oh, you know what, I'm gonna make it. Like when I was a blue belt, I never thought I could even win a tournament as a purple belt. When I was a
Wow.
black belt, I didn't even felt like a black belt. You
Hmm.
know, I won my first world championship, my first as a black belt. I won, and I still felt, man, I don't, is it, but maybe it was, I don't know, because there's so many other things I don't know in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Now I've been training jiu-jitsu for 23, 24 years. Now I can feel comfortable to say, you know what, I know jiu-jitsu. Now I can, because I studied. I did my PhD and my PhD on the PhD, because this is what I do, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when I won the ADCC 2009, when I submit all the top players in the world, it didn't feel perfect. It didn't feel like, oh man, it's mine. No, man, like before my fight on the same fight against Vini Magalhães, I was with my acai packs on the top, I just slide down there. As soon as I put Vini Magalhães and Braulio Estima, oh my God, what is now? And Xande and Andre Galvão, they're all the same final. And as I took Vini down, and then I took his back, and I was going to, and I hear Xande Ribeiro is in the finalist. I thought, oh, damn, I'll stay here a little bit, because if I go out, Xande is gonna be resting in a bit.
Yeah.
But this is the mentalities. You got to take the positive and try to ask why of is the reason why we're doing this, and think that there is always a way out. Okay, for example, now, okay, we carry on my classes online. Okay, all my members, they have special access for some of the online classes that we do worldwide for the Gracie Barra. For me, I give him the free for all my students a free access for the Steam in Action, so they to carry on to have plenty of jiu-jitsu Netflix on the journey. And I'm also, because I've been actually doing a couple privates. People are bored. People, Braulio, would you do a private? I did a couple privates, and it was really good. So what, guys, if you guys want to have a private, I'm here with my home mat doing here. Anyway, if you guys are willing to do interaction, so we can do a private, you guys bored that, dude, you can always find a way.
Yeah, make the best of the situation. You have no
Exactly.
choice at the end of the day. Braulio, before we sign off, I want to ask you one last thing. What's your take on today's jiu-jitsu as a whole, as the competitions, not just the competitions, but just kind of everything, your take on the competitors, maybe the top guys that you like right now, just as in your impression, because I mean, you're a guy that you're still on the front lines with your team. You're helping with other events. What's your impression of the jiu-jitsu now? Not necessarily compared to the way it was, but just wanted to hear your thoughts on that.
Man, I think jiu-jitsu is grew in a way that's complete out of the proportion that I could imagine, that I could live. I never thought I would live the way I would see jiu-jitsu being the way that it is now. And I think it's very positive. Okay, I see, like, listen, there are people, as I said, everyone's different. There are people like all kinds, like we see Gordon Ryan, the way that he goes and he engages, but he attracts people to see our sport too, And unfortunately, with the new generation, the social media, if you don't have those trash talks, a lot of people get bored. But a lot of people get to understand that jiu-jitsu exists because of that. I wouldn't do myself. But there are people that would like to do that, and there are people that like to hear. I don't like to hear, but there are people that do. So I think, jiu-jitsu it's now going through completely globally, in a way, with people with all kind of religions, all kind of cultures, okay, and way of seeing the world. They all agreeing that jiu-jitsu is an amazing sport, and I believe it's because jiu-jitsu has a vibe that is no other sport that the vibe of the trust, every day with training, someone gets your arm, you tap, they let it go. If someone chokes you, they could, originally, the subconscious thinks it could kill you, but you tap, let it go. So that builds a bond that's no other sport exists. And then it's just the beauty of learning on how to control my opponent without really hurt him. It's this vibe is different, and then people start appreciating that, and so many other lessons that's coming with it. And you all see the benefits that it's given to my students, so everyone else must feel that worldwide. And then this brings the jiu-jitsu with so much diversity that brings all kind together through jiu-jitsu. I think Master Carlos Gracie Senior always said that if everyone in the world did jiu-jitsu, the world would be a much better place to live. And I believe truly on that. And I think the jiu-jitsu, it's gonna grow even more, and it's growing now exponentially. And after this pandemic thing, you will see how much more people will come and learn about, because we see that everyone who did jiu-jitsu stuck together, became in the same boat, and then they went through the struggles and they learned a lot about themselves. And then this will be massive, because jiu-jitsu is keeping a lot of people sane right now, because of a lot of people have nothing else to do, and we'll come back stronger and prove a point to everyone.
All right. I just want to say thank you so much for the time. We're at the time where we got to call it quit before my recorder stops. But tell everyone at home where they can follow you, your social media, list it all off so everyone knows where to get you.
All right, guys. So you can follow me on the Instagram at Braulio Estima. Okay. The Facebook, don't bother. Just go on Instagram, because it's the platform that I'm in. I teach on my main school, Gracie Barra, Birmingham. That's it really. I hope you guys enjoy. Be strong, be safe, and remember, it doesn't matter how hard things are. There's always the way out, and everything in the world passes, and we're gonna pass through that. Stay together, keep connected, and things gonna be good in the end.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you're watching this, once again, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to my channel. I really appreciate it. Braulio, if you can go to his YouTube channel or his social media, make sure you follow him. And like Braulio and myself said, we're not doctors. We are professors in jiu-jitsu. We're telling you things will pass. There's going to be, sunshine at the end of the rainbow. And we're going to be able to get back on the mats, and we're going to be able to watch, train, and try to kill each other on a daily basis and do what we love to do, which is jiu-jitsu. And thanks a lot, Braulio. I really appreciate it. I'm happy because I learned a lot of information, not technically, but more so like about you personally. And I've worked with you in the past. I've chatted with you in the past. We've had different encounters in the past, but I feel like I've learned a lot about your history that I didn't know, and I appreciate the time. You talk about value. I value the time that you gave me so much, and I can't wait to see, I can't wait to work with you again, because you're a really good commentator. Like I said, the second best looking, because I got the first thing. But once again, thank you so much, man. And hopefully we get to see each other soon in a tournament, and we'll share a bowl assay together. And it was a pleasure, man.
For sure, Ricardo. It's always a pleasure. Always good chats. Smart guy, and with all good intentions. And I'm up for that always. And anytime you need me, I'm here. Thank you very much. And I see you at some competition at some point.
All right. And I know I'm going to have like 20 questions that I'm going to say after. Shit, why didn't I ask him this? So be prepared if I send you another invite, maybe in a week's time, to do another follow-up.
Be my pleasure. I'll plenty of time, my friend. Nothing to
do. All right, brother. Take care, guys.
Good luck and everything.
Thank you so much.
Take care.